Life tip 101, changing how we treat ourselves. Okay, so in this particular life tip, I want to share some things that concerns me about how we treat ourselves. And this is in the context of when we've done something rewardful. You know, like if you have reached your exercise goal, your weight goal, your, whatever catapult that you've established for yourself, oftentimes we revert to unhealthy means of reward or treating ourselves as some sort of means of rewarding our positive lifestyle changes. And that's exactly what I want to address. I was talking to a friend, and we had this issue, and she's not from the United States of America. She's from St. Lucia. And so when we had this discussion, she was saying how everything in moderation and how we should treat ourselves every now and again for, the good that we do. And I'm all for developing a reward system and treating ourselves, but I'm for treating ourselves right. For instance, we wouldn't exactly say, well, as a treat for ourselves, we're going to poison ourselves. But in effect, that's what we do. Because if we've reached a goal where we've lost 20 pounds, then we'll say, oh, well, now I'm going to go out to eat. I'm going to get that steak as a treat for myself. Or I'm going to buy that banana split just to treat myself for being so good, for sticking to the plan for 21 days or for 10 days or for 8 days, for doing my fast, whatever the situation may be. But this is the issue when you respond to your health that way. You're actually reverting back to unhealthy lifestyles. And scripture puts it this way. When Jesus, as you will hear me call him sometimes by his Hebrew name, which is Yeshua, when he healed certain people, you'll notice that he said to them, sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon you. Well, the reason why that makes perfect sense is because we already have an established taste bud for something that is not in our best interest for life. I mean, if you already like fried chicken, why would you keep feeding that? Even as some sort of reward system. Because what it begins to do is it still establishes or continues the unhealthy lifestyle option that got you in the position that you're in. And furthermore, I'm opposed
the ideology of
person who sets up these temporary goals to achieve a certain weight size for a period of time, but then they continue the same unhealthy lifestyle that keeps them sick or that causes them to revert back to whatever it was or whatever state they were in before they chose to make the lifestyle changes. So I am more for making lasting lifestyle changes and redefining the word diet according to what it actually is. In our mindset, we've created the word diet to mean one thing when you look it up, it has a completely different definition. And to simply put it, diet is the way you eat. It's a lifestyle. It's the way that you eat. And oftentimes we look at it as a state that we're in to achieve a specific goal, and then therefore after we've achieved that goal, somehow we think that we can go back to whatever lifestyle we had before, and something must have magically happened when we took that fast that would cause us not to end up in the same physical state, even though we go back to the same lifestyle state in terms of how we eat and how we live and exercise and so forth. So let's get one other thing established as we're talking about this. Exercise is not a replacement for healthy eating, and healthy eating is not a replacement for exercise. These are two things that we must do continuously. Number one, eating healthy is not going to strengthen you. Exercise will strengthen you. Eating healthy will give you the energy you need so that you can exercise. So there is a first amongst equal. A person who exercises, or a person who is very out of weight and out of touch, not that I'm an expert, but I would suggest, just based on my own experience, that you first change your eating habits before you consider going on to an exercise regimen, because there is a first amongst equals. And the reason why I say that is simply because if you change the way you eat, it will give you energy. Food has that quality. If you're eating real food, it will give you energy. And energy is what you're going to need in order to exercise. It's going to give you clarity of thought. It's going to give you energy. It's going to posture you so that when you exercise, it's not going to be as much wear on you as it would be if you're not eating right. And I mean, this is not rocket science. I mean, anyone who eats a soul food plate, fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, some collard greens smothered in pork neck bones and things like that, well, after you eat and then top it off with a peach cobbler, after you've eaten a heavy meal like that, the only thing you have is a desire to sleep. You are out of energy because your body is working so hard just to digest and to consume the substance that you've placed in it. And I said substance because this is not really food. This is just substance. This is what I call fillers, because it's not enough nutritional value in what's on the plate to really qualify as being food. Why I'm saying this to you is what I have to say to myself. I mean, I have my own vices as well that I'm constantly trying to get over. And one of those things is occasionally I like to have a candy bar. Occasionally I like to have those things. And what I find is that the reason why we crave those things is because our body already has, number one, we've already developed a taste for it, which wouldn't have been developed had we not even introduced ourselves to it. But since we have, now we have to back our minds up out of that motion. And the only way you're going to do that is you're going to have to satisfy what you're lacking with a healthier alternative. A great example of what I'm referring to is I like ice cream, but ice cream doesn't like me. I'm lactose intolerant. So one of the things that I got to do if I want to keep my body functioning properly, if I want to not have to deal with having constipation, which is a horrible thing to have. So I don't want to have those sorts of issues or IBS flare-up or anything like that. Then what I have to do in order to combat that is I have to come up with an alternative to dairy that will satisfy the taste bud but will give my body what it needs. And so I have. One such recipe is to make dairy-free ice cream. And there are several ways of making it. One simple way of doing it, which will incorporate a lot more of the nutrition that your body needs, is to make banana ice cream. And with banana ice cream, it can be as versatile as you like. You can put as many different fruit as you want. I've put nuts on it, so then that gives me my good healthy fat. There's so many different things that you can do with it to make it versatile, to make it please the palate, and to give you the satisfaction of what your body is craving. The reason why I'm mentioning this to you is because you need to know that this is how you combat making unhealthy choices. You have to have a backup plan. You have to have something to replace the unhealthy choice. It's very difficult it's one thing you can set your will, and you can will to do something, to say, hey, I'm just going to stop cold turkey, or I'm just going to give this up. But the reality is that if your body's craving it, at some point you're going to give into it, and you're going to justify the means to do so. Hence, which is why I said we'll reach goals and we'll say, oh, after I lose 20 pounds, I'm going to now go out and eat that strawberry cake that I denied myself for the last 8 months. Well, let's say instead of giving ourselves the strawberry cake, that we make an alternative treat. We retrain our thought so that we're not treating ourselves with things that are unhealthy. So what I would suggest as a treat for yourself, and this is found in my Losing Weight the Healthy Way series, which I will also make into book form as well as make into audio form. But the one thing that I say, if you want to treat yourself accordingly in a way that is going to be healthy. If you are a shopaholic, I wouldn't recommend this as your way of treating yourself, because this can get you into debt. But if you are a person who your vice is food, which is what we're relating to, if your vice is food, if that's the thing that you have the hardest problem getting under control, you know that you have a love affair with sugar that is leading to your death, then my recommendation to you is to cut sugar out of your body. Unnatural sugars, refined sugars. So let me qualify that. I don't think that it's healthy at all to cut all sugar out of your life, because there is some sugar that is beneficial for you, but refined sugar. And when I mean by refined sugar, I'm talking about anything that is processed unnatural. So I don't mean you have to give up your fruits. I don't mean you have to give up those kinds of things. One such thing I did when I was on a vegan diet, instead of eating candy, I ate dried fruits. Dried fruits are just as sweet as candy, except now you're getting at least a real food in your body. So it's a great substitute to candy. Now, I say that, but I recommend, if you are the type of person who, like I said, you have a love affair with sugar, you need to try to just get rid of the love affair. You need to evict the lover, and you need to just say, hey, I'm going to fast from this for a period of time so that I can now retrain my taste buds to appreciate the value of regular food. And so with that being stated, I wouldn't recommend in this phase of the process that you actually incorporate the alternative to the sugar craving that you have. And part of that reason is because if you have to first retrain your taste buds, because what happens is, even though, as I said again, that dried fruit is just as sweet as regular fruit, but it has a canceling effect. In other words, if you eat a Snickers bar, and then after you eat the Snickers bar, you turn around and let's say you drink something that's equally as sweet. Well, this is what's going to happen. One of those, because both of them are so sweet, one of those are going to cancel out the taste, the sweet taste of the other. It's just going to happen. And it's going to be based on whichever one you have first. So if the first thing that I eat is the sweetest thing that I have, or it has a sweeter taste on my tongue, my taste buds, and the other, then it totally cancels out the other. Which is why if you eat something like a Snickers bar and then after that you eat you an apple or a banana, the apple and banana don't seem like it's sweet at all. So I'm saying this to you because I want you to understand that you have to change how you think about food and how you do things. And one of those ways that you're going to be able to accomplish that is you have to begin to make alternatives, but you got to do it in a way that your body can receive it as an alternative. So when you retrain your taste buds, one of the things that I had to do after I had multiple surgeries and I decided to go on a vegan diet is it helped to retrain my taste buds. So by removing the refined sugars, which is, by the way, the mistake that a lot of people who go to a vegan diet make, they replace the love affair with meat with a love affair with starch. And so what happens is you have all of this, high sugar or high food that convert into sugar in your body So if you're going to get rid of the meat, but you're going to double up on your baked goods, you're going to double up on your rice, on your potatoes, on your pasta, and you're minimizing your real food still. It's not like you replace the meat with the vegetables and the fruit. The vegetables are still your garnish. It's just the temporary little bit of thing that you eat at the end of eating what you really want. It's just that now the meat has been replaced with the baked goods, with your rolls, and with your pasta, and with all these other things that you enjoy, but that's equally as unhealthy. So you have to get rid of you have to kick the lovers out that are hurting you. It's the same thing as if you were in an abusive relationship with a man who's beating you up. It's leading to your death. And that's exactly what's happening with food. The love affair that we have with it is leading to our death. So we have to begin to take control once again of how we think and how we eat. And part of that means having your mind renewed. And part of the renewing of your mind process means that you have to go through a learning curve. And what the learning curve requires is that you have to learn how to appreciate real food again. That's number one. We got to start with appreciating real food. And how do we appreciate real food? We have to start appreciating real food again by eliminating. And you don't have to eliminate everything at once, because I don't want to send you into shock. But you do have to begin eliminating things from your diet that are not healthy. Whatever the unhealthy lovers are that's in your cupboard, you need to get rid of it. And you need to see it as what it is. It's robbing you of your life. If you do not understand that, if you do not embrace that, you will make excuses and you will make room for that lover to return. It's the same thing with an abusive relationship. If you are in an abusive relationship with a man who is violent towards you, you can't let him back in your home. You get the restraining order and you keep him so many feet distance from your personal body, from yourself. So therefore, that being the case, this is what you have to do if you're going to obtain health and you're going to have a healthy life. You have to get rid of the unhealthy lovers that's in your life. And that means remove it. Processed foods, you just need to go cold turkey and go back to real food. But base it on an elimination process. And the elimination process is quite simple. You don't have to get rid of everything at once. And what you get rid of, make sure you have a substitute for. And that's where the learning curve comes in, because some things require that you prepare it. And, if everybody, even with a recipe, can't get the same taste that, other people might be able to achieve, which means it's going to take time. So until you find a substitute, keep it in your diet. Just try to minimize it and increase in your diet of foods that you should be eating. So in other words, if you're used to buying 2 gallons of ice cream, cut back to 1 gallon of ice cream for the week. And replace the extra gallon that you normally get with real food. So that means get you some pineapples, get you some bananas, get you sweet fruit that's going to give you the taste that you like. And begin to minimize how much ice cream portions. So, okay, if I'm going to get a gallon of ice cream, I'm used to eating if you're used to eating 2 bowls of ice cream in a day, or I don't know how you do it. But instead of eating as much ice cream, what you do is you slice you some peaches. Maybe you'll do 1 scoop. If you're used to doing 4 scoops, now we're going to do 1 scoop. Or now we're going to do 2 scoops. Or now my body's getting the taste of it. of the ice cream as you used to, but it's also going to get the taste of the healthy stuff. And I don't mean no peach cobbler. You can't do the peach cobbler in ice cream, but you can do peaches with ice cream. Okay, so you can slice up, and I don't mean no canned peaches. We're getting away from processed. You're going to get some peaches. You're going to slice it, and you're going to put it in your ice cream. Why? Because now you're minimizing how much of the ice cream you're eating. So this is the elimination process. So then, and you're introducing something else in your diet that is healthy. And it doesn't have to be peaches. It can be blueberries. It can be strawberries. It can be whatever you want. But instead of getting strawberry ice cream, you're just going to get regular vanilla ice cream. And with the vanilla ice cream, you're just going to now, instead of filling your bowl with the ice cream, fill your bowl with the fruit. And the ice cream is just like a garnish on your plate. So these are just some things you can do. These are some tips that you can use in your quest to become a healthier individual. These are things that we do to help get ourselves back in place. Now, when I say you're going to start, you have to change how you treat yourself. How you're going to begin to treat yourself is this way. Again, if you're not a shopaholic, because I'm not trying to put you in debt, but if you are a foodaholic, that's your issue, then instead of treating yourself with, let's say, hey, now I'm going to eat this because I denied myself of this for a week, or I denied myself of this for a month. Instead of making that the treat for yourself, you're going to treat yourself by saying, if I've met my goal, and my goal is to be able to get in a specific dress. Maybe there's a dress that you like, but you would never dare buy it because you didn't want to be the size you were in it. Then the goal then would be, after you've achieved the size that you wanted, now you're going to buy the dress that you want. And because the money that you were spending on the unhealthy food, now that you've minimized your portions, you've now decreased your food budget, that extra money can now be allocated towards the dress. Because the dress may be more expensive as well. It may not have just been the fact that you weren't the size you wanted to be, but now you can be the size you want to be, and now the money that you saved from the food that you were eating can be utilized towards the end of getting the dress that you want. So we change how we treat ourselves. Okay, if you're not a clothing person, that's not going to work for you. Maybe you're a traveling person. So you reach the size that you want to get, then hey, now if I reach my goal within 3 months, it's going to take me 3 months to save up the money to go on a cruise, if that's what your thing is, or whatever the case may be. Now you save up your money, and now you can go on a cruise. You take $50 a month out of the budget that you were allocating towards food, because now you're spending less, and that goes towards your traveling fund. So if you reach your goal, then your treat for yourself could be, I'm gonna go on a cruise. Now, thing about the cruise, I'm gonna have to make sure I give you this disclaimer, is that the cruise, though it is also a treat, is also a snare. Because when you go on a cruise, you're going to have all sorts of food that's going to be there for you to eat buffet style, all times of day and night. So for that reason, if you have addiction to food, I wouldn't necessarily recommend a cruise, because a cruise will actually revert you back to the lifestyle you're trying to get away from. I would encourage you to go maybe to a resort, or maybe camping out, or somewhere where you're going to be able to continue exercising. You know, obviously you're not going to want to go somewhere where if it's freezing, you're not the type of person who can deal with the cold. You're not going to probably want to go to Alaska for that trip. Your trip might need to be somewhere like the Bahamas. where you can still walk on the beach and you can still make wise decisions in terms of the foods that you eat, because you're not eating buffet style, which is another encouragement to eat healthy, because it costs more money to eat larger portions when you can just buy a plate of food and be good. So again, I know that it's difficult when it comes to food. I tell people this all the time. Food is a very interesting addiction, and it's actually worse than crack. It's worse than cocaine. It's worse than alcohol. It's worse than all those things, because the distinction between food and being addicted to alcohol or any other substance is that you have to first create the craving for those substances. And although you have to create the craving for the substance of food, the distinction is you don't have to take that first hit to get on it. In other words, every addict of alcohol, of drugs, of sex, whatever it is that or pornography, whatever it is that you're addicted to, they had to have that first experience, and it created the craving that that their body didn't ask for, nor did they need. But the distinction is, with food, you have to eat food. It's not something that you can quit cold turkey. It's not something you can go to a program and you can say, okay, like alcohol. Alcohol, the consensus is you can't take another drink. You can't do one drink. You can't do a little bit of drink. You can't drink any of it. The way you kick the habit is to kick it completely. The goal, you may not stop all at once, but the goal is to stop completely and never return to that. Well, food, like I said, you can't do that. Food, if you don't eat, you die. If you eat the wrong things, you die. So you have to eat it. So it's a matter of it's the one addiction that you have to train yourself how to deal with it. You're going to have to deal with it. You can't ignore it. You can't cut it out completely. You just have to deal with it. So these tips are made to help provide you with healthy alternatives, healthy lifestyles, but it's also to encourage you in your life so that you can be well. I want you to live on purpose, live with purpose. That's why we call it purposeful living. And you have to understand that God has a plan for your life, and the enemy also has a plan for your life. And the only way you're going to avoid the plan of the enemy, and you're going to be able to harness the plan of the Almighty, is you're going to have to be strategic in your thinking and in your living. And you're going to have to depend on the Lord to lead you and guide you so that you can make decisions that's going to bring life to you. And so that's where I'm here. We're on this journey together. By all means, I have not yet arrived. I still have to implement a whole lot of the things that the Lord showed me into my life. And that's where having friends, having support, having someone else on the journey with you helps you. And so I'm here. I'm on the journey with you because I'm on the journey myself. And if there's anything that I can learn that can benefit you, then that's exactly what I want to do. With that stated, this will be a part of my teaching and life tips, and this is a pretty long one, so I'm going to probably break up in segments. But in addition to this, I will be making this information available on my Google account. So if you join my collection, then you'll be able to keep track of how to establish healthy habits that will bring life to you, how to change how you think. Because it's not that we have just a problem of how we eat. We have a problem of how we think. And if we don't address how we think first, then we won't have lasting changes in how we live. So the first thing that must be done is the renewing of your mind. And so life tip 101, for this series is changing how you treat yourself, is because it has to do with changing how your mind thinks about things. And that's only going to happen as you come in contact with things that are true. So I'm bringing some truth to you with the distinct hope that it will help you to make healthier lifestyle choices. And although I'm talking about food, please understand that I do also mean this as it relates to people in your life. If you are in an unhealthy relationship, it's no different than having an unhealthy relationship with food. You have to evict the person who means you death in your life. And hopefully, you'll make that decision before you say I do to a person who means death in your life. If you're in an unhealthy relationship, if you're in an unhealthy relationship with a person, if you're in an unhealthy relationship with food, you need to get rid of the person who's in your life who's unhealthy and who's causing you to be unhealthy. Same thing with food. You need to get rid of the foods that are unhealthy, the foods that are not real foods to begin with. And you need to incorporate those things which are authentic in your life. You need to have authentic relationships. You need to have authentic food on your plate. These are the things that bring forth life. These are the things that will help you live a more prosperous life. And you don't want to deprive yourself of that, because whether or not you were here on accident or on purpose, whether or not you are a product of a loving couple who chose to have you and planned you, or whether or not you were part of a couple who are split, divorced, separated, or part of a relationship where you were brought into life by someone who was raped by someone else. Regardless of how you got here, the bottom line is it took more than those two people to bring you into existence. I know from personal experience, because I have desired to conceive and how difficult it is, that God is in the mix in every life that is brought to bear. There's a part that you play, there's a part that other person plays, but ultimately God is the one who causes that egg to meet that sperm and all those other amazing things that happen that brings about life. And it's not something that anyone can do. So therefore, the fact that out of all the sperm that went through, you are the one that caught the egg. The fact that out of all the obstacles that could have occurred, that could have prevented you from even reaching that egg, was not met. You are a miracle, which means God has a plan for you. And so my heart's desire in this process and in my teachings is to help connect you with why you're here. Because the great reason why we fall into the trap of unhealthy choices is because we secretly have a suicidal mentality. What causes a person to turn to food for comfort is not much different than what causes a person to turn to alcohol for comfort, or the person turn to crack for comfort. There's something missing within them that these other substances address. And so therefore, the ultimate goal of purposeful living for me and my teachings is to connect you to the giver of your life. And the giver of your life is Christ. And to help you to see that He's already sent you a comforter, so that you don't need all these other things to comfort you, that you can get what you need from Him. So I hope that this has blessed you. It's definitely blessed me. The two-edged sword, it may be cutting you, but it's cutting me too. So I understand that it is very difficult to make different choices and to renew your mind. It's not an easy process, and I'm not trying to suggest that it is. But what I am trying to do is give you food for thought to make you rethink or reconsider some of the things that may be the reason why you have not been successful in your pursuit of health. And so if I can challenge you to consider these things, these ways of thinking that you may have developed, and help you to break those things down that are leading to your death, then perhaps we can uproot all of the dead seeds and the seeds that lead to death from your life, and we can plant healthy seeds into a healthy ground and ultimately bring forth healthy fruit. Because I want you to have life. And like our Messiah, I don't want just you to have life. I want those connected to you to have life. So when you come out, they come out. There is a sea of people who are ready to be set free by you catching the vision of what God has for you. And I'm here to share just my little piece of that puzzle. And I'm praying that that piece of the puzzle will be enough to set you free.